Now that I think about it. Wow. Did anybody else think it was a pretty tough fall and the deer didn't move overly well?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're right in that same camp with you, and it proved that Terry and I still don't know what we're talking about when it comes to white-tailed deer, because both of us predicted that we were going into the rut of all ruts. The moon was lined up. You know, the deer are going to just move their tails off, and it was absolutely the worst rut we've ever seen.
Matter of fact, I think we said it in this room last year. I think we made that prediction for anybody that was here last year. We predicted an all-out rut, and it was just the opposite of what we had believed. And we're still perplexed in the fact that we don't know why. So did anybody have a tremendous fall where it was just off the charts, you know, just rut activity where bucks chasing dogs? We try to do it on small parcels. I mean, we're doing it on 40 acres, 50 acres, 60, 80, 120s, provided you've got neighbors that will cooperate and are on the same page that you are. And that's the hard part. If you have that, and then collectively you're managing a pretty big area, then it works. But if you're on a small parcel and your neighbors aren't on the same page, obviously that's not going to work for you. When you guys want to feel that as well?
A lot of it depends not only the size of the parcel, but the type of parcel it is. You may have a 1,000-acre pasture farm and an 80-acre block of solid brush, and the 80-acre will be more productive than the 1,000-acre pasture. So it really has to do with how it correlates with all the ground around it and how appealing it is to a whitetail at any time of the year. I think you can be effective on smaller parcels. It's just you can't be as effective as you can on a larger parcel, obviously. Some of the best farms that I have are small ones, and it's because they're the right farm. And those deer come there and they stay there, and oftentimes deer from around the surrounding area come there for the food or come there for the cover. So it's as much to do with how that parcel lays out as anything.
Tell you what, why don't we we'll ask 2 or 3 questions for Mark and I, and then I want to make sure we get the rest of the cast involved. So if you guys any questions about dream season, wildlife obsession, bow madness, or natural born, kind of be thinking about those, and then after we get done with a couple here, we'll open it up and let the rest of the guys start answering those. Where was that other hand? I just saw.
No, I just told Kansas Mark to drive with it.
In comparison to try and hunt with somebody for 4 months every day, all of a sudden every little sound, every little movement, you notice everything about that guy, and he's noticing everything about you. And you go from having these wonderful conversations in a tree, you know, the first day in October, to not speaking at all about the time Christmas rolls around. So it is testimony. It's the hardest thing on earth. And it unroots the deepest of jealousies and the deepest of bad sides of a person when you have to hunt together, and it's pretty tough.
But you're with them 24/7?
24/7, literally. But it is testimony to what they do, and we're lucky to have all these guys to be able to go through what they do and put up with the malarkey. We're very fortunate in the fact they're committed to getting all of it on camera. Next question.
So, Terry, what is it like to hunt with your brother?
Well, we don't hunt together.
We divorced about 10 years ago.
Next question.
Yes, sir.
On smaller properties, I've heard a lot of people say they won't hunt in the mornings until November 1st or whatever. Any of y'all can answer this, but do you think it's worth the extra pressure to go out in the early bow season in the mornings, or do you just go in the afternoon?
Let's go down the... Jeff, you want to grab that one?
Yeah, I guess that just depends on, you know, how big your track is, so to speak. But I typically don't hunt a buck in the mornings till, you know, Halloween or late November, something like that, unless we get a cool front. But to me, you can do a lot more damage than good, you know, going in too early. Unless you got a spot that's kind of off by itself, and you can go whack some does or maybe catch a buck slipping in late. But our core area, as far as morning hunting, we definitely don't hit till about 25th of October or later.
Can you all hear us in the back? Can everybody hear this? Okay.
It really comes down to the distance that buck's traveling during daylight hours, you know. And if that distance is, say, only 100 or 150 meandering yards from wherever he's feeding to where he's bedding, well, how are you going to get between where he's at and where he's going without bumping him out? And that's the problem in October. Even if you look at your trail monitoring cameras, it is not very often that you get a daylight picture of a buck in October. And when you do, it's right at first light. So how would you have gotten there anyway? Because chances are, if he's there at first light, he was just off camera, you know, just before pre-dawn. So you're going to bump them out. And if they're not moving very far, it's almost impossible to get in there. As you get into that Halloween stage and on into the rut, you know, that travel pattern starts to expand and they start moving greater distances. That's why you can get into your stand and not blow them out. You don't want to do a deer drive on the way to your stand. Yes, sir.
What would be your number one choice for food plot planting, and number two?
I'll let Dog say your number 1 and 2, and then John say your number 1 and 2. What's your number 1 and 2? Food plot planting. Yeah.
Probably for early season, we like to, put in our biological, of course, and we plant the, the turnips or whatever they have nowadays, that would carry us into the later part. But also we like to have our standing beans too and corn to take us into the fall.
A little louder, guys, so they can hear you in the back.
Johnny?
Number one would have to be for late season would be the biologic products, either Maximum, Winter Bulb, sugar beets. Number two, going back to the question before, I've killed a lot of deer early season coming in on Clover Plus, any type of green field if you can get the bachelor bucks pattern and sort of see where they're at. I've killed a lot of big deer that way. But it's a lot of fun to hunt over Maximum when they're coming in after it freezes a couple times. Lots of fun.
Great question.
Yeah, and typically, we were talking a while ago about November, us waiting for that rut. Years ago, we couldn't wait for that rut to kick in. And I think as time progresses and we have evolved, we would much prefer trying to harvest a big deer either early season or late. Rut becomes a part where it just seems to go dormant and they lock down with the does and you just don't see those big ones, which would get back to your camera issue again, on where they go. They disappear, they hide, they lay down for 4 or 5 days and you don't see them move at all. So what John's talking about, that early season period, is pretty lethal when it comes to harvesting a mature deer, early and late.